Hello everyone and welcome back to the workshop. About a year ago I decided to make a camper van so Billy and I could have an amazing venture around Europe. So in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I made it and how much fun I had. Let's start at day one. I've got a 14-seater minibus built on the Fiat Ducato chassis. It's got 40,000 miles on the clock. It's got a brilliant service history. It's clean on the outside, it's clean on the inside, so this is a really good place to start. Honestly, I picked this specific van because it already had these huge panoramic windows and a skylight fitted. At the time, I was convinced I was just going to take the seats out, whack in some cabinets, throw in a bed, a nice quick conversion. Well, we'll see. So my first job was to get rid of all these heavy passenger seats. I didn't need them and space is everything. I did list them online and actually they sold within a couple of days, which was really surprising. That was really good because it meant that the cash that I made from selling them I could put back into the build budget. As I was pulling the seats out, I noticed something a little interesting. The seats that were all crash rated, because it's a minibus and they have to be, they were bolted down with 30mm bolts, or just over an inch. And that made me think there must be something under the floor, because to be crash rated, these seats would have to be bolted through the chassis. Now with that in mind, I thought I'm going to have a quick look behind the panels and behind the headliner to see if there's anything else that's going to surprise me. Can you see where this is heading?
Now it'll come off.
No sound deadening, no insulation, which is hardly surprising considering it was a minibus and you don't really need sound deadening and insulation. However, this is going to be a camper, so I do need sound deadening and insulation. So naturally, everything had to come out. I had started early with the intention of getting all the seats out and the vinyl floor up, and as I had help for a few days, things were going well. So we cracked on, carefully took the headliner out, figuring out the lighting and existing wiring as we went along, and obviously Billy was supervising everything as normal. By this time we hadn't even got to 11Zs, so we carefully took all the wall panels off, storing them in my kitchen, but revealing some lovely items left over by the minibus passengers. Thank you if you're listening. My thinking was now that if I remove all the panels carefully, they could, if needed, be put back later, as they were pretty nice, and I know that there are some converters out there that use these exact panels. And if you want to find those panels, I'll leave a link in the description. So with all the wall panels removed, it was time to tackle the floor. I was thinking just knife it into sections and take it away for recycling, but my friend suggested to keep it as it would make a great template for the new floor. However, wrestling the glue apart from the heavy vinyl floor was a hell of a task. Halfway through, we decided to just put a knife on the side and cut through the glue as we're pulling the vinyl floor up. Now, one of the things I didn't film was my friend and I wrestling this heavy, sticky roll of flooring into the house.
The door was shut.
After lunch, I was really eager to get the floor out, so I removed all the screws, carefully lifted up the plywood to reveal an entire floor. And it was easier than I thought. There was a few more screws. I may have missed a few, but it came up mostly intact. And that revealed that there was a 250 kilo subframe bolted through the floor, made of 40mm by 40mm heavy steel. Whew. By the end of day one, we'd removed all the seats, all the wall panels, the headlining, we'd lifted up the floor and revealed that massive 250 kilo lump. So I decided that we should head to the pub and get some food and a pint or two. Day two. After revealing yesterday that there was a 250 kilo subframe under the floor, my helper came over a little early to help me get it removed. It was bolted through the subframe and then through the chassis with these anti-compression tubes, and then each bolt was then plated so that the chassis, when the bolt was tightened, wouldn't get compressed. With my helper gone to do some real work, I decided I'd do a massive clean on the van, which meant taking out the front seats, lifting up the mat, hoovering and wiping clean everything. I thought a little attention to detail now would be really nice later. Whilst my helper was away at work, I decided I'd get on with reupholstering the front seats. It was fairly easy. It involves removing the old covers and fitting some new ones. I'll leave a link in the description of where I got the covers from, and if you want to see a full video about this, just leave a comment. Back to the van. With my helper returned, I had time to go out and get a few blades for cutting up the subfloor. Now, I couldn't use a grinder as the sparks would put iron filings everywhere, and it's possible that the same sparks would then damage the windows. I thought with these big panoramic windows, I should put a 20% tint on the window so that I could see out, but it made it a little harder for people to see in unless you came right up to the window.
That's it.
With that massively heavy frame out, I went around and hoovered up all the burrs from cutting. I then wiped the floor with some isopropyl alcohol. I then painted any bare holes with enamel rust-based paint, and I filled the same holes with some carbon flexi adhesive. The wooden battens that were left from lifting the metal floor were about 40 millimeters, so I laminated an extra 9 millimeters onto the floor level to bring it roughly to 50 mil, so that I could lay some 50 mil insulation. With a little help, by the end of day 2, we'd removed all the seats, all the panels, lifted the floor, removed the subframe, cleaned everything, insulated and relaid the floor. We even had time to start on some of the carpeting and a few other things. I was super happy, so I decided both helpers needed a little walk and maybe a quick pint. I popped to the metal yard first thing in the morning on day 3 to get some 40mm by 40mm aluminium box section and angle to make the bed frame. I wanted the bed to sit sideways, and I wanted a fixed bed so I could have a cabin for Billy underneath, and I could also store a bike on a pull-out rail. The rails bolted into the existing riv nuts on the frame of the van, and the box section sat on the rails. I sandwiched a little bit of neoprene between the rails and the box section so that there was no rattling from the bed when I was driving. I cut 2 sheets of 9mm ply as one wouldn't be wide enough. I drilled loads of breather holes between where the rails are going to be. I then varnished it and left it for fitting later. I had a rough idea of what I wanted for the cabinets, and with the old double front seat fitted on a section of the old subframe, that kind of defined some of the area. I knew space was a premium and I didn't want to lose those panoramic views, so I've decided that I'd do high and low cabinets. For the low cabinets, I thought a curved cabinet would be best as you walk in, so you don't catch yourself and they just look better. I used curve cutting and some lightweight plywood to wrap around the frame that I'd made, and then I used polyurethane glue and nailed it. By the end of day 3, I had one cabinet, kind of glued, and loads of panels cut. Day 4, with the main cabinet curve cut, bent, and looking pretty cool, I took everything out to the van, including the panels, and did an epic measuring session. You know, measure twice and all that kind of thing. I had to make sure there was enough room for the Truma heating system and the Vitrifrigo top-loading fridge, but I still had to make sure that there was enough space for all the serviceable areas for both of them. I worked out exactly where the shower was going to be, how Billy Bear was going to access the cabin area, and how he was going to get into his bed when he wanted, where all the routes for the plumbing and lighting were going to go. I then measured out for the worktops and just checked everything. I spent the best part of an hour measuring, adjusting, and measuring again until I was happy. I then aligned the truma and marked up where its vent pipe was going to go. I decided I didn't need an oven in the van as I mainly just cook for myself. I know everyone likes baked stuff, but I figured that I can just go out to dinner. I wanted to get everything prepared, marked out and cut so that I could give everything a coat of varnish before the day was over. It's a big ask, but it's totally possible. It's so much fun building a van, and I was really tempted to book the tickets for the ferry. Just then my friendly neighbour turned up and wanted some chat time. It's one of those fundamental things, I think. A friend calls and says, "Can you talk?" A neighbour pops over for a chat or a cuppa. It's not hard just to stop and listen. I feel like we could all listen a bit more these days. Even though I looked busy, I was just faffing to appear like I knew what I was doing. With all the measuring done though, it was time to go inside and get cutting. Day 5. Yesterday evening I got a coat of varnish on all the panels that I'd measured and cut from the day before. Today's job was making the doors for those cabinets. And yes, there's only 3, but remember those panoramic windows. I thought it best to make a template, as you know I love templates. There are loads available on my link below. Please have a look, and if you feel like making a donation, that would be lovely. All the proceeds from any templates you download are going back into my YouTube channel, as I'm a pensioner now. I use 6mm moisture-proof MDF for templating, as it lasts a good amount of time in the workshop. And by the end of the day, all the panels were looking good and everything kind of fitted. And then Billy came along just to check on progress. Day 6, the cabinets were still drying, so I thought it best to do an electrics day. I'd marked out where I wanted the truma vent pipe to be, and I also wanted to install one of those shore power outlets too. So I marked up a nice neat line of holes on the side of the van. I was a little bit nervous about making holes because you can distort the panels pretty easily. So I made a little pilot hole, fixed a plate from behind and then drilled slowly. And it turned out great. Battery packs are really expensive, and I had loads of lithium polymer batteries hanging around from another project, so I decided to make my own battery pack for the van. I made a 200 amp hour 24 volt battery. Here's just a picture of the end result so you can see where everything went. I had a Panasonic 400 watt solar panel banging around, so I put that on the roof and connected it to a Victron MPPT charge controller, and that kept everything charged and topped up. I also did a full calculation of my power requirements before sizing the solar panel and the battery, and I'd advise that you do the same before starting on any of your electrics. Day 7, so there are some boring jobs to do when van building, and one of them is insulation. I find the best way to get through it is to whack on some music, enjoy the process, and before you know it, it's all done. With all the insulation done, it was time to go inside and get the first layer of polyurethane paint onto the cabinets. Wait until you see them. Day 8. This morning I was amazed when I walked into my kitchen and remembered that I'd painted all the base cabinets from the night before. It's now time to get all the cabinets fitted, remembering things like the truma, the fridge and the wiring for the pump and lighting, all the showers and the other things that you need to get fitted and adjusted. Whilst I was in the van, I measured up for the top cabinets, so if I had time I could make the top cabinets in the evening and let the glue dry overnight. I'll put a plan for the little bracket I made in the link below. I then went around and did a few little extra bits of insulation, and like I said at the beginning, my friendly neighbour came over and refitted a few of the side panels for me, so I'm so glad I hung on to those because they look really good. Day 9, I got the top cabinets painted and hung. The best thing about using spray paint is that they dry really quickly and it looks great. I then went round and made the final connections to the plumbing and the electrics, and then after fitting the seat, I was pretty much finished. Oh, and my friend popped over and helped me reinstall that headliner. Day 10 and 11, I was called into work for these days, but I did manage to get a few hours each evening in the van, just making the last connections and polishing things up. I'm so happy with how this van turned out. I really went for it. I want to thank my amazing neighbour for helping out, even sometimes just with a coffee. Let me know in the comments what you think, but before you do, did you spot the shower? There it is. The worktop lifts up, the front door swings open so you can step straight into the shower tray. Then the top cabinet pops open like on a plane and the shower curtain drops out. I absolutely love it, mainly because I still have those panoramic views all around me. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Oh, and here are a few clips from Billy's adventures.
Billy back. Go. Come on. Come on. Come on, come for tickle.
You're being good for Granny? Yeah, you're a good boy.
Cool one.